Okay, we are live.
Yay, we're live. We're outside. It's getting warm, but it's not warm yet. Or too warm anyway, for me. Miss Emily behind our camera is definitely enjoying the sunshine. And we are at the Bison exhibit. So we are excited to talk to you about bison today. We'll see if we have any viewers so far.
I didn't remember if you could see. Could you see on this one?
What?
If people, like how many people were on?
Yeah, I
you
think it
could.
shows you
Okay,
at
we
the
got
top.
one. Okay.
Woohoo! Yay, one person. Good morning, whoever is watching today. We're very excited. We're going to be talking about animal parenting here at Bison. This one is going to be pretty short just because it's a little bit warm and we don't want our little camera there to overheat, but it's going to be exciting. Otherwise, just enjoy this preview while we see if anyone else wants to join us. I'll probably give it about 30 more seconds or so. And I'll move out of your camera so you can see the pretty bison in the pasture.
You guys will just go.
Alright, my friends, so it looks like there's just a couple people watching. That's totally okay. It is a nice day and I hope everyone else is outside. Don't mind me squinting into the sun because it's nice and bright today. But today, like I said, we're going to be talking about bison. And in relation to our theme this month on social media, we're going to be talking about parenting in bison. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the background of the bison themselves, and then Miss Emily is going to give you more information on their parenting skills. They've got some pretty good skills, actually. Now, obviously, these are our bison here. We have Bert, who is closest to us. He'll be 3 years old in September. And then in the back, we have Nellie, who'll be 2.5 next month. So he's a little bit older. He's also bigger, but that's normal for male bison. They're usually about almost double the size of the females when they're fully grown. Neither of these our bison here are fully grown yet. They usually are fully grown between 3 to 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. So both of ours are probably going to get a little bit bigger. Also, ours are not old enough yet to quite be parents, but that's okay because they're really cool to talk about. And I'm sure many of you have seen, or at least in video or footage, of wild bison and their babies, which are super, super cute. Okay? Now, bison are herd animals, and that's really important to their parenting, and Miss Emily will go a little bit on that later. But their herds were historically found literally all the way up into Canada near Alaska, all the way down to southern U.S., and all the way from east to west, okay? Or almost that far. But in the 1800s, when colonists were moving west, they were getting rid of a lot of the bison in order to push native folk onto reservations because many of the plains tribes relied heavily on bison. So by decimating those herds, they were able to push people off land that they wanted. But the bison are still in small pockets in some parts of the west here, but mostly in the Yellowstone National Park, which is where we see a lot of them. Bert is here in the background. You might have heard him snorting a little bit. He is mostly just sniffing the alfalfa right now, but he's also munching on a lot of food. Our bison do graze this pasture for most of the summer, but they also have hay that they get, so they get quite a varied diet, and you might see them in the background. And Nellie's farther back on the hill just munching away, and Bert is coming up nice and close. So if he keeps coming close, don't worry, we'll get a good close-up of him, okay? Now, bison herds are typically maternal, meaning that the females stay with the herd for their whole life, most of the time. And the males are usually dispersed to form bachelor herds, which is really cool because they have their own herd of just the boys, and then they'll integrate into a herd of their own as they get older and are old enough to have their own young and their own herds. Okay? Now the breeding season is from July through September, and I am going to let Miss Emily take up on that. So we'll watch our bison friends and then we'll switch. You got it?
Yep.
Okay.
Good?
Yeah.
All right, so like Miss Katie said, the breeding season for these guys is from July through September, and this is also known as the rut. And it's when the males are competing with other males for a harem or a group of females that they will then court and mate with for the duration of this breeding season. Once the males mate with the females. The female has a gestation period or pregnancy of about 9 months, so very similar to a human gestation period. She will then give birth to one calf, also colloquially known as red dogs, which is very cute. And so they'll give birth to one calf. And while these calves live with the mothers and are fed by the mothers for about a year, they are actually independent quite quickly. Most ungulates, which these guys are in the ungulate family, the offspring can run and walk moments after birth, meaning that the bison calves can move just as quickly as the rest of the herd minutes after they are born. Now you're seeing a really cool behavior here that Bert is doing. He is exhibiting wallowing, which is one of the ways that these guys not only clean their fur, but cool off. And so they can wallow in dust, which is what you just saw Bert doing here, and that kind of helps to remove any bugs or parasites that might be on the skin of wild bison. It also gets rid of any itches, and then if they wallow in wet mud, it can act as a cooling agent to cool their temperature down on a hot day. But back to parenting. So these calves, like I said, they can be with their mothers for about a year when they're dependent for their mother for protection and food. Now, these guys, despite being the largest mammal in North America, can be vulnerable to predation. And two of the main predators in the Yellowstone ecosystem are grizzly bears and wolves. Now, grizzly bears don't really hunt bison, they'll scavenge on dead bison. Wolves are the primary hunters of these animals. It's going to be a lot more difficult for a wolf to bring down a bison the size of Bert or Nellie as opposed to bringing down a calf. So bison have a couple really cool adaptations to protect their offspring during a wolf hunt. There's actually two. So the first one is if they are being chased by a pack of wolves, the females and their calves will lead the herd. So they will go in the front, and the males, like Bert, will stay behind, forming a protective barrier between the more vulnerable calves and their mothers and the wolves. This way, if a wolf tries to eat a bison, he's going to be greeted with a ton of horns and strength, as opposed to a 40 to 50 pound bison calf. Now the other one you guys have probably seen or heard of, at least on some nature documentaries, and if they don't choose that running method, they can actually encircle their young and face the wolves. So the entire herd will put the young in the center, and the adults will then face the outside of that circle so that they are facing the wolves with a wall of horns. Now, this is very intimidating for the wolves, and it's very difficult for them to break through that impenetrable boundary of horns, and it actually is a very effective mechanism in protecting their young. So there are two ways that these guys can protect their very vulnerable offspring from predation in the wild. Now, these guys, they have a breeding season. It occurs once a year, so they're going to be seasonal breeders. And if you guys go to Yellowstone National Park or any of the national parks out here in the West, chances are you will see mixed herds full of males, females, and cute little red dogs. And they're precious, but if you do that, please remember to give bison their space. A lot of people underestimate the strength of these creatures because they often move very slowly, they look kind of lumbering, but these guys can actually run up to 35 miles an hour, which, trust me, is a lot quicker than you as a human can run. They are also incredibly strong. If you see that hump on Bert's back right there, where his shoulders are, that is a giant clump of muscle that gives him enough power to not only topple trees, but it also helps him to plow snow in the winter to get grass. But that hump means that there's a lot of force behind the movement of those animals, and they can be incredibly dangerous. So if you do happen to see bison in the wild, please remember to give them their space. Do we have any questions coming in?
Not that I can see.
All right.
I think we only have one person watching right now.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the senses of bison. So these guys are grazers and they are prey animals. Many prey animals have amazing eyesight. It helps them scan the horizon for any potential threats. Bison are kind of the exception to the rule here. Their eyesight is actually very poor. They are nearsighted, which means they're not going to be able to see things very far away, and this makes them especially easy to spook. which is why it's very common that you'll see stampedes of these animals. They cannot see very well, so anything that approaches them suddenly will spook them, and then as a result, the rest of the herd will spook. However, these guys do have very excellent senses of smell and hearing to kind of compensate for that lack of eyesight. Now, earlier on, we were talking about their horns. Now, let's talk about the difference between horns and antlers really quick. So these guys, this is a bison skull right here. It's very hefty. This is a replica of a bison skull. Now, as you can see, the horns, which is right here and right here, these are still attached to the skull of the bison, and horns have what's known as a horn sheath. So this is made up of keratin, which is the exact same stuff as your hair, your fingernails, rhino horn, snake skin. It's a very tough and durable material. This is bone, so it grows with the skull, and these are never shed seasonally. Antlers, like this one here, are shed seasonally. So they are found on elk, deer, mule deer, white-tailed deer, and these are shed every season. And it fluctuates with the hormone cycles of the male elk or deer. Antlers in elk and deer are only found in the males. They use these for male combat, whereas in animals like bison that have horns, horns are found on both males and females, which can make it a little bit more difficult to tell bison, male and females, apart. However, Nellie, oh, she's hiding.
You can kind of see her horns poking up a little bit. You can kind of see her horns there in the back. But in general, females are going to be about half the size of male bison, which is one way you can tell them apart, despite both of them having those horns. There we go. Now, these guys have many names. You can call them buffalo, you can call them bison. Genetically, they are bison. The evolution of these critters is very complicated. Scientists are still trying to parse it out, but they are known as both buffalo and bison here in the States. The term buffalo is thought to have come from the French word boeuf, for beef, because these guys, they do make some very nice bison patties. But that is why you hear them being called both buffalo and bison commonly throughout the country. All right. We have, I don't think I see any comments or questions so far.
All right.
And our camera is getting a little bit warm, my friends. So I think we will go ahead and wrap up. I'll give you a little, like maybe 30 more seconds of some lovely bison viewing here. And we hope that you have a wonderful day and enjoy the weather wherever you are. So we have Bert the bison there and Nellie the bison over there. They're just munching away. One thing to note, folks, if you're still watching, we are doing another live program through Skype in the Classroom with Microsoft here on July 1st. So definitely keep an eye on that. It's a Wednesday, I know. It's right before you probably, if you're going anywhere, hopefully go safely. But if you're not going anywhere for 4th of July, definitely check us out on Wednesday, July 1st at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoyed our lovely little bison talk. Have a good day!